You're listening to WBGU-FM 88.1 and HD1, Bowling Green, Ohio.
WBGU-FM is sponsored by Aardvark Screen Printing and Embroidery. Whether it's a business card holder for your desk, holiday gifts for employees, or promotional materials, Aardvark offers a wide variety of custom-made products for your business needs. Aardvark Screen Printing and Embroidery, a veteran-owned family business located at 123 South Main Street, Bowling Green, Ohio, and always open at aardvarkspe.com.
And hello. It is me, your host, DJ Mick, and this is the special late night edition of a Sherlock Summer. So I missed last weekend, unfortunately, but hey, I'm doing it this weekend, I guess. I guess it's still the weekend. It's Sunday. So I have 3 full-length Sherlock Holmes old-time radio theater adventures, just like every weekend, for you. So we'll do the 3 full-length ones that are about half an hour each, give or take. And then we're going to do some more of those word detectives. I think I have 2 scheduled for tonight, and then 2 Beyond the Green Door things. Both of those with Basil Rathbone. They're just like little couple-minute short things. So we're going to get started. We're just going to go. We're just going to get right into it. So this mystery is the mystery of Mrs. Warren's Key. And this is from July 12th, 1947 is when it first premiered on the radio. So without further ado, the mystery of Mrs. Warren's Key here on A Sherlock Summer on WBGU FM.
Sherlock Holmes, starring Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. The makers of bromo quinine cold tablets bring you another adventure of Sherlock Holmes with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. Friends, when you're the victim of a cold, remember this. Bromo quinine cold tablets are made exclusively to help relieve the usual distress of cold. They're not a cure-all. They're made for one purpose and one purpose only. To help relieve the common miseries of a cold. The ache, the pain, the fever, and nasal stuffing. That's why they do such an effective job. Give yourself the advantages of specialized medication. When a cold attacks, take bromo quinine cold tablets as directed and only as directed. Now, here we are again in our habitual armchair in front of Dr. Watson's fireplace, waiting for the good doctor to put down the evening paper.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Mr. Manning. I didn't see you come in. I was reading about your latest American gang shooting.
Yes, crime seems to be riding high, wide, and handsome in most of our big cities, I'm afraid. What a pity we haven't got Mr. Sherlock Holmes on the job.
This is just what I was thinking.
But on the other hand, these gangs of racketeers have sprung up since he retired. Perhaps he wouldn't know how to handle it.
Rubbish. I can remember just one case we handled back in '94. It was concerned with Giorgiano, the worst gang leader New York ever had. They didn't call it racketeering in those days, but it amounted to the same thing. Kidnapping, blackmailing, bombing, terrorizing innocent people. By during the course of that particular case, Giorgiano had one man taken for a ride, as you call it.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, it's a bad story. Let me see. It was in November in the year 1894. Holmes and I were sitting in our rooms in Vegas.
Well, I thought you said this story was about the head of a New York gang.
Yes, so I did, Mr. Manning, so I did, just to interrupt. Even famous gangsters have been known to travel about from time to time. Well, as I was saying, Holmes and I were sitting in our rooms in Baker Street, and our housekeeper, Mrs. Hudson, ushered in a friend of hers, a landlady who kept lodgings in Great Orm Street. Holmes invited her to sit down. The poor woman was obviously harassed and kept plucking away at the fringe of her cape.
Mrs. Hudson tells me that you've been having some difficulty with the lodger, Mrs.
Warren, that's the name, sir. No, Mr. Henry, you couldn't call it difficulty I'm having. And it was a lodger that was easier to do for. It's just that I don't see him from one weekend to the other.
Oh, come now. That's nothing to be uneasy about. My best Mrs. Warren, if I were your lodger, there would be many occasions when you wouldn't see me for weeks at a time. I work a good deal at night, you know, and do my sleeping by day.
No doubt, Mr. Holmes. But this is different. He never goes out, not even at night. I've waited up to find out. I never see his face, not even when he pays his bills. Not a sign of him ever seen for the last 3 weeks.
And how do you know he's still there?
Like he's trying to get away from something? Oh, it frightens me, Mr. Holmes. I can't sleep for fright.
When did this lodger first come to you?
3 weeks back it was. He asked me to turn to my 50 shillings a week. You see, there's a fine sitting room and bedroom all complete like at the top of the house.
Yes, indeed. Go on.
Well, Mr. Holmes, he says to me, I'll pay £5 a week if I can have it on my own terms. He took a £10 note out of his pocket then and then and give it to me 2 weeks in advance. Then he says he's to be left entirely to himself and never for any excuse are we to disturb him.
So he took the rooms and hasn't been out since.
Oh, yes, he has, sir. What?
But I thought you said that he...
Just what it was, sir, that first night. He went out and returned very late. He was all in bed, but I heard him walking up the stairs. And his door shut and latched. And he keeps it locked. And I ain't seen him since.
But his meals. How does he get his meals?
Well, when he rings, I take a tray up and leave it on a chair outside his door. Then when he rings again, up I goes and take the tray away empty. If he's wanting anything else, he writes it on a slip of paper and leaves it on the tray.
I see. Have you brought any of those bits of paper with you?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. There's just been 3.
Good.
Here they are.
Uh-huh. When today? Most interesting. Written with a broad, pointed, violet-tipped pencil and printed.
Well, what do they say, Holmes?
The messages are quite laconic, my dear Watson. Soap, Daily Gazette, and match. They open up a very pleasing field of intelligent speculation. Suggestive, Watson, very suggestive. The gentleman...
Anything very unusual about those papers?
No. That's printed. The gentleman doesn't wish Mrs. Warren to obtain a sample of his handwriting. And here, look. On this slip, after the soap, a corner has been torn away. But as evident as a mark, perhaps a thumbprint. It might give a clue to the man's identity. Furthermore, the person is undoubtedly a foreigner.
Oh, and how do you deduce that?
When he writes match, not matches. You must look the word up in the dictionary. The table is the singular, of course. Now, Mrs. Warren, what did your lodger look like when he came to take the room?
Youngish he was, Mr. Holmes. Not over 30. Middle size, dark, and he had a beard.
Spoke English?
Yes, sir, he spoke English well enough, but with an accent to the foreign.
What did I tell you, Watson? What did I tell you? Did he give his name?
No, sir.
He had any letters or callers?
No, sir.
Where did he retire when you or the girl go in to do his in the morning?
We don't go in, sir. He does for himself.
Oh, I see, yes, interesting. And you say nothing has come out of that room? Absolutely nothing?
Just 2 burnt matches and a cigarette end. They was on the tray this morning.
You brought them with you?
Oh, that I did, sir. Mrs. Hudson told me as how you said nothing was too small to take notice of.
Mrs. Hudson was right.
Yes, sir, here you be.
These matches were used to light cigarettes.
Steady. How can you tell what the matches were used for?
Quite obvious, my dear. Wasn't quite obvious. The shortness of the burnt end. At least half a match is consumed in lighting a pipe or a cigar. Hello. Well. This cigarette is certainly remarkable. Yes, Mrs. Warren. The gentleman who is now living in your rooms is not the gentleman who engaged them.
No, Holmes, you can't tell us that. You can reduce that from the cigarette itself.
Elementary, my dear Watson, elementary. Notice the size of the thing. I believe you said the first gentleman had a beard, Mrs. Warren.
Yes, sir, a black beard it was, and a flowing moustache.
Yes. Now, take the cigarette. Only a clean-shaven man could have smoked it down this far. Why, Watson, even that bristle you call a moustache would have been singed.
That's not very funny. Perhaps he used a holder.
Impossible, my dear fellow. Notice the way that it's matted at the end. No, it's a different person entirely.
How could he have got in?
Well, he went out the first night, Mrs. Warren tells us. But did the same man return? I think not. I think it was the second chap who came back. The one for whom the first man took the room.
Perhaps they both returned. Possibly that there are 2 men in those rooms.
Excellent, my dear Watson, excellent. You're coming along. Now, tell me, Mrs. Warren, how much does the fellow eat? Would it be enough for 2?
Oh, no, sir. He eats so little I often wonder if he can keep life in one.
Well, that settles that.
Oh?
Now, Mrs. Warren, there seems to be nothing more to be done for the moment. I hardly think the situation is dangerous, at least not for the present. But keep us informed of any further developments.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Holmes. I feel easier in my mind already. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Not at all.
Good day, gentlemen.
Good day, Mrs. Warren. Look here, Holmes. You're not going to go puttering about in this affair. The man is probably just a harmless eccentric of some sort.
You never know, Watson. You never know. Whoever he is living in terror.
Huh?
Terror of what, I wonder?
Oh, rubbish. Besides, who's going to foot the bill? What do you expect to get out of a case like this? Education?
The pursuit of knowledge, Watson, is my great hobby.
Pursuit of knowledge of the foot. Curiosity, that's what it is. plain, unadulterated curiosity.
Oh, possibly, Watson, possibly. Education, pursuit of knowledge, curiosity. Perhaps they all amount to the same thing.
Where are you going to look for your education in this case, if I may ask?
In the Daily Gazette, my dear fellow, in the Daily Gazette. A newspaper is often a very storehouse of knowledge.
Every time I look at you, you have your nose buried in a copy of the Daily Gazette. Why the fondness for that yellow rag?
Yeah. The Daily Gazette is the paper Mrs. Warren's mysterious lodger asked for, remember?
Well, what of it? What can you discover from a common newspaper? The answer is nothing. Nothing at all. Here it is 4 days since we heard of that mysterious gentleman, Mrs. Warren. What have you unearthed? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
You're wrong as usual, my dear Watson. I've unearthed enough.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special bulletin from the NBC newsroom in New York. President Roosevelt will address the joint session of Congress at noon tomorrow. We return you now to the adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
My chief is enemies to the hiding place of the mysterious lodger. How would you go about keeping in touch with him?
Just what I know.
Through the papers, my dear fellow, through the agony columns. And since Mrs. Warren's lodger received only one paper, the notices must appear in that.
See now, but how can you tell which notice is the one we're after?
By elimination, Watson. By elimination. Take this paper, for instance. The edition which appeared 2 days after the lodger took up his residence with Mrs. Warren.
The agony column, huh? Let's have a look. Dear me. What a collection of groans, cries, and utter nonsense.
Oh, perhaps, my dear Watson, perhaps. But nevertheless, an invaluable hunting ground for the searchers after education. Well, go on.
The first one reads, surely Jimmy will not break his mother's heart. That's very certain. Listen to this. It's the lady who fainted in the Brixton
Yes, disregard that. The lady doesn't interest me.
Here's another. Every day, my heart longs.
Oh, bleach, Watson. Unmitigated bleach. Go on, please.
Well. Be patient. We'll find some means of communication. Meanwhile, watch this column. It's signed G.
Sounds more plausible, eh?
Are there any others?
Yes, 3 days later, we picked up the trail again. Here it is. There, that one.
And making successful arrangements, patience and prudence, the clouds will pass. G again.
Yes, nothing for 2 weeks after that. Then comes something more definite. Here.
The path is clearing. If I find chance to signal, remember code. A1, B2, and so on. You'll hear soon. Oh, what's for G? That goes. Things are warming up.
Oh, see who that is, will you, Watson?
Sure. I'm sure he wanted his lunch. Thank you so much.
Well. What is it?
The afternoon copy of the Gazette that has just arrived. This is how it's done.
Oh,
Ordered up.
good. See if there's anything in it.
House of Parliament in heated session. Actress has pearls still.
Oh, come on, give me that paper.
Look out, Holmes. You tell. Snatching a paper out of a fellow's hands like that. Nice manners, I must say.
Here we are, Watson. Here we are. High red house with white stone facing, third floor, second window left after dusk. G. Ha. That's definite enough, Watson. That's definite enough. Hello. What's that? Look out of the window, will you, Watson?
Your friend, Mrs. Warren. I said it. She must be excited. Her hat's on the side of her head, and she's puffing like a steam engine. There's Mrs. Hudson. Just let her in.
Yeah, something happened. We weren't there. Confound it, Watson. I hope nothing did it. Come in.
Oh.
Mrs. Warren, what's up?
Oh, Mr. Holmes, sir, I come as best as I could.
Well, here, take a chair and get your breath.
Oh.
No, wait a minute. Sit down.
Oh.
That's better. Now then, what's happened?
It's a police matter, that's what it is. I'll have no more of it, and I won't. I'll pack in my bag of baggage. I'm at the end of my patience, I am. When it comes to knocking my old man about...
Mr. Warren,
well, tighten him up anyway.
Who did that?
Well, that's what we want to know. It was around 11 this morning. There was a fog, you remember? Well, I sent Mr. Warren around to get me some money in for the stew we were to have for lunch. Well, he says he got no more than 10 paces down the road when 2 men come up behind him, threw a coat over his head, and bundled it into a cab that was standing beside the curb. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and he don't come back. And there am I in me stew left waiting for the onions. Well, at 2 o'clock, they come up a stew anyhow. And you know what a stew is like without onions.
Yes, it's like tea without...
Yes,
without
that's
milk.
what I like mine.
Well,
one of the most...
Go on, Mrs. Warren. Go on. Never mind.
Yes, well, it's 3 o'clock. My old man comes home, all black and blue, and his coat torn. At first, I think he's been in some pub. He's got a weakness for a drunk now and then.
Yes. So
And pretty soon, I see he's not drunk, just dazed, and he tells me he's been driving around for 2 hours with a couple of men threatening him. And finally, they opened the door and shoved him out. And when he comes to, we found he was on Hampstead Heath, so we took a bus home, and there he lies now on the sofa, moaning and groaning.
Indeed, most interesting.
Oh.
Did he notice the appearance of the man? Did he hear them talk?
No, Mr. Holmes. He's clean dazed. He just knows he was lifted up as if by magic and then dropped again.
Just by magic?
Yes, sir, that's right.
And you connect this attack with your lodger?
Well, sir, we've been living there 15 years now, and no such happenings ever came before. I've had enough of it. Money's not everything. I'll have him out of the house before the day is
Now,
done.
wait a minute, Mrs. Warren. Wait a minute. Don't do anything rash. The matter's becoming more and more interesting. It's clear that these men mistook your husband to your lodger, and the heavy fog this morning, and when they discovered their mistake, they released him.
They threw him out, they did, on his ear.
Yes, well, wait a minute. The important thing is that your lodger's enemies have found him. They're on his track. They'll be back. I suggest you return to your home at once before anything serious has a chance to happen.
Just a moment, we'll rejoin Sherlock Holmes as he endeavors to solve the mystery of Mrs. Warren's lodger. Ladies and gentlemen, in every American city, town, or village, you'll find a group of people who are worthy of the highest praise. The American druggists, men and women who are always on the job to serve our needs day and night. This evening, we have a very welcome guest, a druggist from the city of the famous Mardi Gras, colorful New Orleans, Mr. Wally Schweikart of the Schaefer and Schweikart Pharmacy at Carrollton and Jeanette. Now, here's what happened the other day when a friend of mine visited the Schaefer and Schweikart Pharmacy.
Mr. Schweikart, you certainly have a fine modern drugstore. How long have you been serving this neighborhood?
About 25 years.
Oh, sir, it's a long time. Say, what were those big buildings I just passed on the way out?
Why, the famous Tulane and Loyola University. And we're proud to have some of the students among our best customers.
And I suppose you have an occasional professor stopping in, too, huh?
Yes, we do. College students and professors buy medicines just like anyone else.
And that brings up a question I'd like to ask. What do most of your customers buy when they want to relieve the usual symptoms of colds?
Bromoquinine cold tablets by a big margin. We recommend them, and both Mr. Schaefer and I have used them to help relieve the common miseries of our own colds.
That's just the way it happened, isn't it, Mr. Schweikart?
Yes, that's right.
It's been a pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Schweikart, and your statement bears out the results of a coast-to-coast survey conducted by one of America's leading research organizations and taken among over 2,000 American druggists just like yourself. It was found that more than 87%, that's about 9 out of every 10 druggists, recommend bromoquinine cold tablets as an effective aid in the relief of the usual cold symptoms. And in addition, the majority of these druggists said that bromoquinine cold tablets were their largest selling tablets made exclusively for the common distress of cold. Friends, when you have the usual symptoms of a cold, get the preparation your druggist probably recommends. Time-proven bromoquinine cold tablets can take only as directed. Bromo, B-R-O-M-O. Quinine, Q-U-I-N-I-N-E. Bromoquinine cold tablets.
Very tidy indeed. Starched curtains, polished doorknobs.
I do my best, Mr. Holmes. Now, where did I put my keys?
Those windows on the top floor where the lamp is lit. Those are the lodger's rooms, I take it?
Yes, sir. Oh, here's the key. Slipped inside the linen and the bag. Will you come in, gentlemen?
Holmes? Oh, the door's open. Come on in. I say, why are you staring at that house across the street?
You see it, Watson? You see it?
Of course I see it. I'm not blind.
High red house with white stone facing.
Of course. The message.
Yes. Watson, that is undoubtedly the signal station. Notice the to let sign in the window? An ideal spot, my dear fellow. An ideal spot.
I dare say we're supposed to be gone inside. We're keeping Mrs. Warren waiting.
Right, Watson. Practical as usual. Oh, Mrs. Warren, what now?
I don't rightly know, sir.
I suppose we begin by taking a look at this mysterious lodger of yours.
Well, how are you going to manage that if he keeps the door locked?
When do you take his next tray up to me, Mrs. Warren?
Usually I do see around 4:30.
4:30, eh? It's almost that now. Is there any chance, another room With a door opening onto this corridor?
No, sir, that is... Oh, wait a minute, sir. There's a cupboard. A big cupboard almost opposite his door here.
Excellent, excellent. What you and I will secrete ourselves in that cupboard while Mrs. Warren fixes the gentleman's tea tray.
Very good, sir. I'll do it right away. It's the top floor, Mr. Holmes. You can't miss it. The cupboard door is the first one to the right, at the head of the stairs.
Good, good, thank you. Come on, Watson.
You do think it's nice, flying like this?
Watson, you've too many scruples to be a first-class detective. Oh, come up the stairs. They creak like a rusty one.
Well, now what are you doing?
Removing my shoes. You better follow my example. That way you have a much better chance of being undetected.
Very well, but I feel like a criminal myself. Oh, not I can't get this shoelace undone.
Well, but this big break, we can't sit here all
Oh,
night.
all right, all right. Oh, here.
Come along now. Quiet, be quiet. You sound like the charge of the Light Brigade.
I'm not making any more noise than you are.
Easy now. Cupboard door. Yes, go.
What? What you said it was a large.
Smoke of paint, please, squeeze here. Close the door. Look at the crack. That's enough to see through.
I can't do the best thing pushed here like this.
Well, not supposed to. I'll do this little man better get myself. Ah, here comes Mrs. Warren now. Stop that noise, Watson. You're talking like a grappler. Yes, here she is. Slipped on chair. Going away. At the door now. Slowly. And a big pipe thunder. Well, I'm dashed.
What is it, Holmes?
What's happened? Something I did not foresee. Follow me downstairs quickly, Watson.
My own excitement. Who was it? Who opened the door?
Remember, I deduced the substitution of lodgers, Watson? Yes. What I did not foresee was that we should find a woman, no ordinary woman, Watson.
No, of course not.
Dark, young, handsome, with a face etched with terror.
Terror? Do you think she saw us?
I think she suspected our presence.
Well, what do we do now?
We put on our shoes. We're going to spend the next few minutes on the front doorstep.
Why?
You remember the message said that G would communicate with the lady at dusk today? Please keep an eye on the window opposite.
Yes, but that's
It's almost dark now. Come along.
Holmes, we've been here for half an hour. My fingers are practically numb. Perhaps your friend has seen us and been scared off.
Well, this doorway's too dark. It's more likely that something has happened to prevent his coming. Hold on. There's a light over there now.
Yes, I can see a shadow. Look, there he is. Pale face. Just as the pair.
He's got a candle peering across. Once they're sure she's there. Now we see this flash. A single flash. Say, take the message, Willie Watson, so we can check up on each other.
Oh, I will. T. That is S-T-H-S.
Wait a minute. There's down. Another T.
That was the beginning of the second word.
Now E. Then comes an N. Long one this time.
It's another T.
An A. It's not. Oh, surely that's not all.
At 10 tower. At 10 tonight. That's before I wake up. I had it. T-A, the initial.
Let's go again.
Why do you got a waste like that? I can't keep up with it.
The same message over again. Curious, Watson. Attenta.
Must be in cipher home.
Not a very obscure cipher, Watson. It's Italian. Attenta means beware. It must be urgent.
Maybe this kid.
Still the same message. Attention. Hello. You've broken off. The light's gone out. Someone's broken a window. What's that? Quick, Watson. We must get in there. Something violent is happening.
The door's unlocked, Holmes.
Come on, Ben. Keep your revolver handy. Dark, I can't see a face. Here, up the stairs. Hello. There's a candle where he dropped it. Too warm. Light a match, Watson. That's better. Let's look around a bit.
Oh, so quiet. It's uncanny. Where could he have gone?
There's a broken window. And here, look here, Watson. Blood. A trail of blood on heavy objects has been dragged along the floor. this cupboard door. Open it, Watson.
Is it out to? Oh, very well. Oh, look. On the floor, a man.
On his back and covered with blood.
Look, there's a knife. A knife sticking straight up.
Driven blade deep into the body. A terrific blow. Give me that candle. Let's have a look at him. Yes.
There. Look at the red circle drawn on the floor under his head. A halo in blood. Holmes, what are you doing with that candle?
Finishing the message. I think it will be helpful. Let's get to the root of this mystery. I must find out how he got there.
You know this man? Then you recognize him?
Naturally, Watson. It's Black Georgiano, the head of the most terrible band of criminals in America.
Georgiano. Gee, Georgiano. Then it must be he who sent the message. What's he doing over here in England?
That's the question you must ask the lady from across the street. She should be here in a moment. I signaled her to come. Here she is.
Carissimo, I have come. Ah, fool. What is it? What have you done with him?
You must prepare yourself for a nasty shock, madam.
My husband, what has happened? What are you hiding from me? Who is that on the floor?
I beg of you not...
Oh, let me see. Georgiano. Tell me, are you seeing him? He is dead.
Please don't be so upset, madam.
But it is wonderful, marvelous.
What?
You are the police. You have killed him. Oh, I'm so happy. You have killed
He
him.
was dead when we found him.
How so? But it was my Jenna who killed him. My wonderful Jenna. He has done it to protect me. He has seen me. He is magnificent. But where is he? Just now he sent a message for me to
It
come.
was I who sent the final message. Your husband disappeared out of the back window, if I read the signs correctly.
But I ran away. Oh, my husband, he did it to protect himself. To save me. No one could blame him. You could not arrest him for that. No. Now that your Jenna is dead, we care nothing. We are free.
Perhaps you'd like to tell us about it. I may be able to arrange matters with Scotland Yard.
Well, Jenna is my husband. Gennaro Luca. I am Emilia Luca. My husband and I, we live in New York. We are happy until my Geno's brother, he meets this Georgiano. He was a devil. A monster. There is no judge in the world who would punish my husband because he killed me.
Yes, I understand he had rather an unsavory character.
He was a king. He makes the young Italian men join in his society. Gennaro's brother was one of his men. He cannot break away. He must do the most terrible thing. And then one night he say no. He was shot in the back.
In the back? Quite a sportsman, eh? Oh,
Quiet, Watson.
After that, this Georgiano, he said my husband must join his gang. He began to make love to me. He was terrible. I was so afraid.
So you ran away.
Yes. One night we go on a boat for England. But we know Georgiano will follow us when he finds out. My Jenna, he hid me where I will be safe. He knows Georgiano will come. And he waits for him outside. Tonight he arrives at last. But Margeno is ready. He is prepared to kill him. Oh, he is a hero, my Gennaro.
I don't know what the British point of view will be, but I imagine that in New York, this lady's husband will receive a pretty general vote of thanks.
Oh, I think we can arrange the British point of view, Watson. Scotland Yard has been on the lookout for this Georgiano since they heard he had landed. Mr. Luca has just saved them a little bit of work, that's all. And now, Mrs. Luca, if you'll come with me, I believe we can arrange matters satisfactorily.
Gracias, senor, gracias. I'm so happy.
Well, it's been an interesting case, Holmes, but I still can't for the life of me see what you expect to get out of it.
Education, Watson, a little more education. Always seeking knowledge at the old university.
In just a moment, Dr. Watson will be back to tell us about next week's story. Ladies and gentlemen, when colds are prevalent, act wisely. Don't neglect the cold. Rest and avoid exposure. Remember, if neglected, even a so-called light cold may lead to more serious illness. But if a cold attacks with its headache, pain, nasal distress, and fever, take bromoquinine cold tablets. They go right to work to help relieve the usual miseries of a cold. They're specialized medication, and they work internally. They bring prompt relief, grateful relief, and they are time-proven. They're known and sold everywhere to help relieve the common discomforts of cold. Yes, you can take them with confidence. So when you have the usual symptoms of a cold, get busy and take bromoquinine cold tablets. Use only as directed, and be sure to get the real thing. Look for the letters LBQ on the tablet. And always ask for them by name. Bromo, B-R-O-M-O. Quinine, Q-U-I-N-I-N-E. Bromo quinine cold tablet. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, next week I think I'll tell you an adventure that took me on a wild goose chase halfway across the continent of Europe. A case which Holmes solved by opening a coffin.
You have been listening to a Sherlock Holmes adventure adapted from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Adventure of the Red Circle, with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. The dramatization was by Edith Miser, musical interludes composed and conducted by Lou Tosma. This program is presented from Hollywood each week at this time by the makers of Bromo Quinine Cold Tablets, prompt relief for cold distress. This is not Manning speaking. Christmas seals are the stamps that help fight tuberculosis. Your contribution to the health and strength of our nation. Buy your Christmas seals today. This is the Red Network of the National Broadcasting Company.
Hi, this is Willie Nelson, and when I'm in town, I listen to this radio station.
88.1 WBGU-FM, your return to Radio Freedom.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, and father of 5. I'm also an expert on drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids, and there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
Soon after humans began to walk upright, they invented folk music, and folk music was the only music, and it was good. Then came civilization, and rival musical genres arose. Gregorian chant, classical music, jazz, rock and roll, and there was cacophony, but folk music survived, and when the economy and technology collapse and civilization devolves into barbarism, these upstart genres will fall away, and folk music will rise again to its natural dominance. You can prepare yourself now for that inevitable future by tuning in to the Folk Music Show Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. on WBGU 88.1.
Yes, and that is with David Sears, who was just on. His show is 6 to 8 on Sunday evenings, and as I said before, mine is usually 4 to 6. Tonight it's 8 to 10 because this spot is free, so hey. All right, so you just got finished listening to Mrs. Warren's Key from 1947. And it's about 8:43 p.m. on this Sunday evening. It's the 15th of July. And let's do the weather because we missed the bottom of the hour. So tonight, low of 72. Not bad. Not bad at all. Partly cloudy, yeah. Tomorrow, which is Monday, the 16th, scattered thunderstorms. High of 88. Low of 67. So that's better than today. And then Tuesday, July 17th, mostly sunny. High of 83 and low of 61. So it looks like the temps are going to somewhat just kind of keep going down. So that's great. All right. Well, we have, of course, another Sherlock Holmes adventure to listen to. And this one is called The Unwelcome Ambassador. And I'm just going to play it and let you guys all listen to it. So without further ado, on a Sherlock Summer, The Unwelcome Ambassador.
The makers of Clipper Craft Clothes for Men and 1,203 leading retail stores from coast to coast present Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's immortal character, the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes, starring John Stanley. This week's adventure, the case of the unwelcome ambassador.
Really, my dear Watson, you're being most discourteous. We have a guest waiting outside. Fetch him.
But Holmes...
Go on, open the door. Bring him in.
There's hardly any reason for such haste. He can well afford to wait. It happens that our guest is a corpse.
And so once again we visit Dr. John Watson, who is at work on his memoirs.
Ah, Mr. Harris. Well, come in, sir, come in.
Thank you. How's your writing coming along, Dr. Watson?
Oh, splendidly, splendidly. Sit down, my boy. won't
Thank you very much. Which of the famous Sherlock Holmes cases are you working on now?
Well, it's the case of the Unwelcome ambassador. A very colorful affair involving a most undiplomatic murder.
I'm very anxious to hear about it, Dr. Watson.
And so you shall. But I am very anxious to hear from you first, Mr. Harris. The fall weather is upon us, and you must make some suggestions for my fall wardrobe.
Why, certainly. Many millions of America's best-dressed men have discovered Clippercraft, acknowledged to be the finest clothing value in America. Here's why. By a voluntary concentration of their enormous buying power, 1,203 of this country's finest independent stores from coast to coast provide Clippercraft's great tailoring plants with the advantages of steady, year-round operation and pass along to you the savings that result from lowered manufacturing and distribution costs. That's why you're certain of getting more for your money in distinctive styling and skillful tailoring in fabrics of lasting good looks. You'll find an outstanding selection of smart new fall clothes by Clippercraft at the leading store in your community, at the store you can trust. Really expensive-looking Clippercraft suits at only $47.50, with some styles at only $40. Also, Clippercraft sport jackets at only $26.50, and Clippercraft top coats at only $40 and $45. Some with removable zip-in linings at only $47.50 and $52.50. Yes, compare Clippercraft with clothes selling for many dollars more. And now, Dr. Watson, who was the Unwelcome ambassador?
This story, Mr. Harris, goes back to the days before my marriage, when Holmes and I shared 221B Baker Street together. We were returning from a Sarasota recital at St. James Hall. We were approaching our lodging in a hansom. It was rather late in the evening. This is 221B, driver. Driver, I say, this is 221B. Holmes, he's passing it. He isn't stopping.
Obviously.
But how can you just sit there and do nothing whatsoever? Driver! Hello up there, driver. Stop at once, I say.
Sorry, Governor.
Either he's kidnapping us or he's insane.
Both fascinating prospects, Watson, so you suppose you regain your composure.
Well, I hope you don't mind, Governor. I was told to... let me see now. To give you this.
What the devil?
Now, careful, Governor. Tain't a salt biscuit that's wrapped in that oilskin. Open her up, why don't you?
Why don't we see? Great Scott. It's a precious stone, a ruby.
Yes, fabulously valuable, my dear Watson. I should say from casual examination that it's the very rarest type. A pigeon's blood ruby, found only in the Mogok stone tract of Upper Burma. Of course, to be certain, one would require instruments.
Who gave this to you, driver?
Oh, please, Governor, you'll only confuse me. Now, let me see now. I'm to say the ruby's for you, Mr. Holmes. It's by way of an invitation to stay in me cab and allow me to drive you to the docks, where you're to board the good ship Java Belle.
Indeed, well, I'd have none of it.
Oh, if you'll allow me to finish, Governor. I'm to say your safety aboard the Java Belle is guaranteed. You're just invited for a bit of a chat.
Oh. And who extends this curious invitation?
That, Governor, I'm not to say.
It's a trap, Holmes. I'm for commanding an about-face.
Not at all. Either our host is a gentleman of fantastic means whose plight is so desperate that he's been obliged to employ the ruby to attract us to his ship, or else he's a remarkably successful criminal, and the ruby is a mere trinket in his bag of loot. I anticipate making his acquaintance with relish. Faster, driver. We'll play your master's game.
Right up that gangway, gentlemen. He's in the cabin, what's all lit up on the main deck. You see it?
Thank you, driver. Shall we go aboard, Watson?
I say, it's sinister-looking vessel, don't you think? There's all the aspects of a pirate ship.
This would be our host's cabin.
Come. Ah, Mr. Holmes.
And Dr. Watson, you've accepted my invitation. I'm delighted. Be seated, won't you?
Thank you.
Huh? What's that?
I said thank you.
Now, sir, beyond the fact that you've spent considerable time in the tropics, that you've been in London for 6 days, and that you're an exporter of spices, what information do you wish to impart?
How on earth do you know all that?
The shipping page of the Globe listed the Java Belle as arriving 6 days ago, if I recall correctly, out of Macau, the Portuguese East Indies. As for your cargo, the odor of cinnamon aboard is inescapable. And it's clear that you've been in the tropics for some time because you suffer from a slight defect in your hearing, symptomatic of prolonged use of quinine.
You're quite right, Mr. Holmes. I do come from Macau. It is on the South China Sea, separated from China proper by an ancient wall. There you may see Maharajas of India and jeweled countesses of France mingling in its twisted streets with riffraff and scum from 100 ports. It is the most lawless city on earth. It's a legend.
I imagine your problem concerns Macau?
It does, sir. My problem concerns the newly arrived ambassador to England from Macau, Senor Ruiz.
Well, what of him, Mr.
Mr. Edwards, Watson. The Globe was also conscientious enough to list the owner of the Java Belle.
Mr. Holmes, the ambassador is about to be murdered.
What? Oh, how do you know?
There is a delicate political situation in Macau, Dr. Watson. Fanatic extremists would benefit greatly if the ambassador were to die. I have heard rumors that they have dispatched emissaries here to London to carry out the unpleasant task.
And you've sent for me to prevent the crime?
Exactly. If the ambassador should die, there would be an upheaval in the Indies. I should lose control of my export business, an immeasurable loss. You may consider that ruby a gesture on my part, Holmes. Keep it with my compliments. And besides, you may name your own fee. I have but one proviso.
Pray continue.
Our understanding must be absolutely confidential. That's why I had you brought here. I did not want to be seen entering your flat. It would add to the unfortunate rumors already circulating in London about the ambassador.
Are you personally acquainted with him?
Oh, we've met, social occasions, tea in Hong Kong, military ball in Ceylon, that sort of thing.
What is his address?
2 Lancaster Gate.
Does the ambassador know of the threat to his life?
Certainly, but he refuses a bodyguard. Deeply ingrained sense of Oriental fatalism.
When did you last see him?
Oh, it's been months. 3 at least. I take it you'll accept the case, Holmes?
Definitely.
Then, if and when you discover the would-be killer, please turn him over to Scotland Yard before revealing his identity to me.
By Jove, that's a strange request.
Dr. Watson, I feel the man who would deprive me of my industrial empire should suffer. But I want him to suffer legally. If he were to fall into my hands personally, I am a collector of strange Oriental objects. Some of them include torture devices beyond Western man's imagination. I could not resist using them.
Now, my dear Watson, I shall have a pipe and consider.
Oh, dear. Visitors at this hour?
Welcome visitors, Watson. If they arrive at this late hour, it must be on an intriguing mission. Oh, remind me to enter Mr. Edwards in my index.
Edwards. I don't care for that man, Holmes. The ship bespeaks the man, you know, and the Java Belle is a saucy, wicked lady of the sea.
Come in.
Mr. Holmes.
Let me tell him, Philip. Mr.
Easy,
Holmes.
my dear girl, easy. Suppose we begin with a proper introduction.
Yes, but we're desperate. We can't wait.
This is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
Mr. Holmes,
My dear young lady, if you'll remove your cape, the mud on it's dripping to the floor, and Mrs. Hudson, our housekeeper, will be furious in the morning.
We mustn't lose a second.
Your coat, sir, it's in the same deplorable condition as the young lady's.
Oh, very well. I'm Philip Randall. This is Edith Norton. I'm secretary to Ambassador Ruiz from Macau.
Aha.
Edith and I were out for the evening.
Where?
The theater. Then we decided to walk to her place through Regent's Park. We were by the lake.
And we saw a body floating in the lake. It was horrible.
I recognized the face of the corpse. It was the ambassador. I refused to send for the police.
Philip's afraid the ambassador's death will create international complications. He didn't think we could persuade Scotland Yard to keep the awful news a secret.
The body was floating close to the edge of the lake. I could reach it. We pulled it on shore.
We hailed a cab. Philip bribed the cabbie to keep his mouth shut. We managed to place the dead body in the hansom.
Where is the corpse now?
Propped up in the cab, right outside this door.
Good heavens.
How very crude. Fetch him inside. It's rather chilly tonight, and we have a nice warm fire here. Watson, give young Randall a hand. Bring the late ambassador in here where I may have a look at him.
Come along, Randall. We two can manage. But hurry, you can't just leave him there.
I must apologize for my disheveled appearance, Mr. Holmes. May I remove my hat and straighten my hair?
Certainly. Did you know the late ambassador, Miss Norton?
Yes, I'd been out with him a few times.
Was he fond of you?
Yes.
Terribly?
Very.
Propose?
Oh, no.
Oh, you have a piece of confetti in your hair.
Here?
That's it. And a speck of mud on your neck. That's better. How did you regard the ambassador?
Why, I adored one. He was a darling.
Does young Randall stand to profit by his employer's death?
Well, I don't want to place Philip in a difficult position, but there was talk that the ambassador was somehow preventing Philip from receiving a vital diplomatic post.
According to the social columns, Miss Norton, which I read solely to remain au courant, and with extreme distaste, the late ambassador was not your sole darling.
I resent that, Mr. Holmes. If a girl cannot be popular without having people...
Here's the body. Easy, Randall.
Yes.
Place the ambassador in my armchair. It's most comfortable.
That's it.
Handsome, wasn't he?
Really, Holmes, your macabre sense of humor
Yes.
is...
Bullet wound in his back. He was shot, then pushed into the lake. Watson, the bullet wound of entrance is at the 6th left intercostal space. Path of the bullet, oblique, downward.
Mr. Holmes, what shall we do?
Since it's extremely late, Miss Norton, if I were you, and I'd ask my escort to see me home.
But the body, we...
Our lodging is not what I would term extravagantly commodious. But I believe we can accommodate the cadaver as a guest, temporarily.
Shall we come tomorrow? How will we know what...
You must be exhausted, Miss Norton. Good night. Good night, Mr. Randall.
Mr. Holmes, if you'd only let us know
Good night.
Well, I must say you might have handled the two youngsters with less effrontery, Holmes.
We haven't time for the amenities.
Randall,
I beg your pardon.
Did you forget something?
No. Edith's gone downstairs. I just stole back because I have a suggestion. It's about a man named Jack Singh.
And why are you telling us about him?
Well, he knew the ambassador quite well. He's an incredible chap, a mixture of Chinese, Malay, British. He spent a good deal of time in Macau at the gambling tables.
Where is this Singh?
In Limehouse. He operates a gambling spot there. There was talk of a wager he'd made on the mathematical chances of the ambassador's being assassinated. You might look into it, Mr. Holmes. Well, I must run. Good night.
Now, why would young Randall want to keep Miss Norton from hearing that?
You're wasting time in idle speculation, Watson.
Well, perhaps. Holmes, why are you putting on your coat?
Because we're off to Limehouse, Watson. I must meet this gentleman who equates mathematics with death.
Well, Dr. Watson, Jack Singh sounds like a very intriguing suspect. There should be a wealth of clues in visiting him in Limehouse.
Should there, Mr. Harris?
Well, I may be wrong about that. Of course, I'm always right about another subject, though, Doctor.
And from that sparkle in your eye, Mr. Harris, I deduce that you're about to discuss your favorite subject. And a favorite of mine, too. Clippercraft clothes.
That's right, Dr. Watson. There's no mystery about this country's most sensational clothing value. You see, there's a great big American idea behind Clippercraft. The famous Clippercraft Plan. Now, this plan gives you the benefit of group purchasing because it concentrates the vast buying power of 1,203 of this country's leading stores from coast to coast. It gives you the opportunity of purchasing truly fine Clippercraft clothes at your local independent store in which you enjoy really friendly, courteous service. You know how much that means when you're buying clothes. And Clippercraft clothes are correctly cut and tailored of superb long-wearing materials. And the savings. Fine Clippercraft suits cost only $47.50 with selections at $40, too. Clippercraft topcoats cost only $40 and $45. Featured are several models with removable zip-in linings at only $47.50 and $52.50. And Clippercraft sport jackets are only $26.50. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city.
These leading stores in the metropolitan area are proud to add their names to Clippercraft in your suits, top coats, and sport jackets. In Manhattan, Saks 34th, Broadway at 34th. John Wanamaker Men's Stores, Broadway at 8th and 67 Liberty Street. In Brooklyn, Abraham & Straus. In Newark, New Jersey, Boulevard Men's Shop, Kresge, Newark. And in Jamaica, the B&B Clothes Shop, 16408 Jamaica Avenue.
And now, shall we return to our story, Mr. Harris?
Oh, by all means, Dr. Watson.
Very well, then. Holmes and I dashed into a hansom and soon reached Limehouse. The streets were too crowded for a horse and carriage, so we were obliged to go the last portion of the way to Jack Singh's gambling establishment on foot. I say, Holmes, what sort of celebration is this?
Limehouse is celebrating the Chinese New Year, Watson.
This confetti gets all over one's clothes. The blasted noise is deafening.
We shall escape it in a moment. There's the building that houses Jack Singh's gambling establishment.
Yes, so it is. And Lord knows what will become of us in there. It's probably swarming with criminals. And murderers.
I regret the necessity of disturbing your game, Mr. Singh.
Not at all, Mr. Holmes. I am delighted that you have brought the news of the ambassador's death. It is magnificent news.
Well, I must confess, Mr. Singh, you have a curious attitude. Not even a trace of regret.
Dr. Watson, my interest in the ambassador was purely professional.
What was the nature of the wager you made regarding his death?
I heard rumors that fanatics were planning to kill him. So I took a chance. I have wagered on the turn of a card. Why should I not wager on a twist of fate? I visited Lloyd's.
Oh, yes, and you purchased assassination insurance, I venture to say.
Exactly.
What on earth is assassination insurance?
The policy of Lloyd's, my dear Watson. The original policy was issued on the life of Napoleon Bonaparte. Lloyd's underwrites the sudden death of any illustrious personage as a protection to businessmen who might suffer substantial losses.
I paid a premium on the life of the ambassador. Now he is dead. I have won another wager. I have again guessed the correct number on the wheel.
From your highly pleased demeanor, Mr. Singh, I should say you've won a gigantic sum.
I have. I am quite frank about it.
Mr. Singh, when did you last see the ambassador?
10 days ago.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Good night, gentlemen. You may use that side door going out.
Good evening,
Goodbye, Mr. Singh.
Where to now, Holmes?
To the ambassador's residence.
But young Randall said the place is deserted. There won't be a soul there.
Precisely why we shall pay it a visit, Watson.
Randall told you no one's at home here at the ambassador's, Holmes.
Then we're obliged to enter the ambassador's home in unorthodox fashion, Watson.
And how might that be?
The window. These absurd English window fasteners won't delay us. This way. Shall we try this window? Superb. Opens in a jiffy. Up she goes. After me, Watson. Leap over the sill. So.
Righto. There we are.
I wish to see the ambassador's study first. This way. Tiptoe, Watson, tiptoe.
Sorry.
This is the study. Here is the ambassador's desk. His papers. Light that small lamp, Watson.
Wait a minute, Holmes. Shh. I hear someone.
Uh-huh. The late diplomat has another visitor at the front door.
Who could it be?
Step behind this clothes horse with me. Good.
I can see the front door. Someone stepped in. Tall, thin chap. He's lighting a candle. Wait a minute. He's holding the candle toward his face. Why, it's young Randall.
Quiet, Watson. I have already examined those papers, Randall. You'll find them rather dull.
Holmes, shall I send for the police, Holmes?
No. Don't do that. Please. Really, I haven't done anything. I just came back to...
You were the ambassador's secretary. Therefore, you made use of your pass key to return and have a look at his private papers. Papers he undoubtedly never allowed you to see.
Yes, I was hoping to find out who killed him on my own.
Confound it, man. It appears to me as though you killed him.
But I didn't, I tell you. Why don't you ask Edwards who killed him?
Oh, no. You can't avoid suspicion by accusing someone else,
But
Randall.
I told you all I know. Edith Norton and I found the body in Regent's Park Lake. I had not seen the ambassador for a week. He had taken a week to relax. Edith told me that she had not seen him in a few days herself.
A few days?
Yes.
Are you quite certain Miss Norton stated she had not seen the ambassador for a few days?
Quite. 2 days, she said.
Watson, have you your army revolver?
Yes.
You'll have need of it.
Oh, where are we off to now?
Back to Limehouse. The pieces of the puzzle fit together neatly. But we must hurry. If we're too late, Jack Singh will have killed Edith Norton.
I'd hoped by now the Chinese would have finished celebrating their New Year. You think we'll get through this crowd in time, Holmes?
We must, Watson.
That poor girl will be dead, and we shall be to blame.
This corner. It's not far now. Your revolver ready?
Yes, ready, Holmes. I'd keep up with you, but the old wound, you know, my leg.
This is the side entrance.
Someone is purposely not answering. Knock again, Holmes.
Open! Open, I say! Open or we shall shoot the lock off.
Holmes.
Yes, Mr. Singh. Good evening, Miss Norton.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, I'm
Mr.
so
Singh,
glad to
I'm
see you.
obliged to detain you with this revolver until we fetch the police to charge you with the murder of the ambassador.
Oh, not quite, Watson. Actually, the ambassador was killed by you, Miss Norton.
Why, that's
Quiet, Edith.
preposterous.
Go on, Holmes.
When you first arrived at Baker Street, Miss Norton, there was almost imperceptible bit of confetti in your hair.
What of it?
Exactly. The question occurred to me, of course. I had the answer when I first visited Limehouse tonight. The Chinese have filled the air with confetti. You remarked about it, Watson. Therefore, I knew Miss Norton must have been in Limehouse earlier this evening, before her engagement with young Randall, since he said they'd only attended the theater.
And so you knew, Holmes, that she was in this with Mr. Singh.
That doesn't prove that I killed the ambassador.
Patience, dear girl. Everyone who could have done away with the ambassador said they hadn't seen him in at least a week. In one case, not for 3 months. But you claim to have seen him just 2 days ago, Miss Norton.
I did.
That's not the truth. It's utterly impossible for you to have seen the ambassador alive in the past 48 hours. I believe Dr. Watson will support the authenticity of my medical information in this instance. The ambassador's body was found floating in Regent's Park Lake, and it requires a minimum of 5 days in the water for a human body to become sufficiently buoyant to float.
You have a home.
We will collect a great deal from Lloyd's, Mr. Holmes. If you would forget this, you might...
Ah, yes. And you, Mr. Singh. You purchased a weighty premium guaranteeing the ambassador's life. But you wanted to wager to be a certainty. You could not commit the crime yourself. You required the services of someone familiar with the ambassador's habits here in London. Someone who knew him intimately, who would be with him alone and often. So you made arrangements with Miss Norton, a ruthlessly ambitious young lady who's striven desperately to marry into wealth.
Why, of all the nuts...
I hurried here because I realized that now that the money is forthcoming, Mr. Singh might decide to do away with you, dear girl. Why should he share it now the work is done?
Keep your hand out of that drawer, Mr. Singh. Don't reach for your gun.
Jack!
Oh.
Jack!
Worthy marksmanship, Watson. Merely a shoulder wound, Mr. Singh. Try not to look as though you'd been mortally wounded. You too, Miss Norton. That expression of despair is most unbecoming. I suggest you save your melodramatic performances. Scotland Yard will provide the perfect stage for them soon enough, with a well-constructed gallows. Oh, I did forget. A Happy New Year, Mr. Singh. A Happy New Year, Miss Norton.
Well, Dr. Watson, the case of the unwelcome ambassador was very intriguing. Now, may we have advance information about next week's adventure?
Mr. Harris, I've called it The Black Guardsman of Braddock Castle. I can see him now, standing on the north tower of the castle, black against the red sun, an axe on his shoulder, looking down and laughing at his work.
Well, what work?
Murder, Mr. Harris. Murder.
Well, we shall certainly be knocking at the door of your study next week, Dr. Watson, to see the Black Guardsman at work. The makers of Clippercraft Clothes and 1,203 leading stores from coast to coast have brought you another in the new series of broadcasts featuring the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Our stories are based upon the character Sherlock Holmes, created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and the program is produced and directed by Basil. Sherlock Holmes is played by John Stanley, Dr. Watson by Ian Martin. This week's story was written by Howard Merrill, special music by Albert Berman. If you don't know your Clippercraft dealer, write Clippercraft, 200 Fifth Avenue, New York City. Be sure to listen next week to Sherlock Holmes in The Black Guardsman of Braddock Castle. Harris speaking for Clippercraft Clothes. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
This is 88.1 WBGU FM in Bowling Green.
Hey, Sky, what are you listening to?
Oh, the new LCD sound system.
Oh, yeah, cool. That reminds me of this song by Brian Eno.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, you should check out Eno. He was in a band called Roxy Music, then he went solo and did a bunch of great albums. He basically invented ambient music, and he's worked with Talking Heads and U2 and John Cale of the Velvet Underground.
Wait. Is this going to be a lecture?
Join me, Rob.
And me, Sky, for Something Stupid every Wednesday night from 8 to 10 p.m.
It's a conversation across the generations where you'll hear something old,
something new,
something borrowed,
and something blue.
It's Something Stupid, only on 88.1 FM WBGU.
We are there, day one, with baby names and a gift that lasts a lifetime. We are there as you grow, protecting you and those you love. And we are there as you start your next chapter. We are with you through life's journey. We are Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. Get to know us at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
And that was the end of the second Sherlock Holmes Radio Theater adventure, The Unwelcome Ambassador. Unwelcome he was. All right, it's 9:15 p.m. We have one more full-length Sherlock Holmes adventure, and then we're going to do some little shorts things at the end. I don't really have very much to say in between here. The only backlog that I can do is 1, the Unwelcome Ambassador, so there you go. But I guess now I'll say that tomorrow night from 8 to 10 is my music show. It's called MICK'S. So if you want to tune in for just, regular music stuff for 2 hours, then tune in tomorrow, 8 to 10. And that'll be my second to last show. And this one is also my second to last show for the Sherlock stuff. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into the third adventure. I'm going to let him, because I'm assuming it's a he, because all of the ad men on all of these are men. I'm going to let him tell you what it's called and who the voice actors are, because the file name that I have is 470707. So I'm assuming that means that this first aired on July 7th, 1947. I'm going to say that that's right. Let's see what this one's about.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Now let's drop in on Sherlock Holmes' friend and ours, Dr. Watson. Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bell. Here you are. Come and sit down.
Thank you.
I trust that you'll join me in a glass of port.
I think I'd better, if only to fortify myself against the horrors of the story you promised us for this evening. The adventure of the Iron Maiden, you called it.
Well, yes, Mr. Bell. For your last visit of the season, I promised you one of our most macabre adventures. And as soon as you've had a word with our listeners, I'll tell you about the Iron Maiden, or as she was known in Nuremberg, Die Eiserne Jungfrau.
Men, on hot summer days, does your hair get out of hand and look dry, wild, and unruly? After a swim, does it feel sticky and stringy, so matted and tangled? Then remember, Kreml Hair Tonic keeps dry, wild, sun-baked hair looking perfectly groomed throughout the hottest, stickiest day, as if your barber had just combed it. You see, Kreml contains a special combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair tonic. This wonderful, natural-looking hairdressing has just enough light oil to keep hair neatly groomed with an attractive, healthy-looking luster. Yet Kreml never leaves the hair looking or feeling greasy or sticky. Kreml always looks and feels so clean on both hair and scalp. It leaves the scalp feeling so cool, refreshed, and alive. So make Kreml a daily must this summer for that handsome, clean-cut look from morning till night. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, I'm sure we're all as anxious as I am to hear the strange story of the Iron Maiden.
Well, it was just before the turn of the century, and Holmes and I had brought to a successful completion a most delicate mission for the reigning family of Saxony. We were spending a day of relaxation in the picturesque old German town of Nuremberg, preparatory to a leisurely trip on the Rhine, and then back to England. As we were getting up from breakfast in our rooms in the hotel, Holmes said,
Wonderful weather, Watson. And I see you're admiring the excellent view of this quaint old town from our window.
View? Oh, yes, I suppose the view's all right.
You don't sound very enthusiastic.
I'm not. You know what the trouble with Germany is, Holmes?
No? What?
It's full of Germans. Huh? Must be the waiter. Come in.
Have I the honor of addressing Mr. Sherlock Holmes of London, England?
This is Mr. Sherlock Holmes, sir. My name is Watson. Dr. Watson.
Ah, yeah, Mr. Holmes, so celebrated colleague.
Oh, that's very good of you.
Permit me that I introduce myself, gentlemen. My name is Ferdinand Langer.
Yes, Mr. Langer?
My friend, the chief porter of this hotel, told me of your arrival, and I have come to beg of you if perhaps you can help me with my so difficult problem.
If it is a matter for the police, Mr. Langer, I fear that I shall be unable to assist you. I have no official standing here. And besides, Dr. Watson and I will be leaving tomorrow.
Ah, the police. To the police I have been, Mr. Holmes. At me they laugh. I am, how do you say, chief keeper of the fünfeckiger Turm.
What?
The five-cornered tower of the castle of Nuremberg. You have heard of it?
Of course.
and of its famous torture museum.
Torture museum? That sounds distinctly unpleasant.
For 35 years now I work in the tower. In the last 18 years I am chief keeper. All this time there is never a complaint about me. But now, these last few weeks, the letters have started to come, each one with more awful threatenings.
Threats, Mr. Langer? Threats of what?
That too old I am getting. That I should resign my position. That if I do not, something terrible will happen. Here is the latest. For yourself, you shall see, Mr. Holmes.
Ah, yes. If my knowledge of German serves me, vague threats, nothing specific, quite a typical letter. From the irregularity of the handwriting, Mr. Langer, the slanting lines and certain other definite characteristics, I'd say that the writer of this letter is definitely unbalanced.
Ah, so. You mean mad, Holmes?
Perhaps not outwardly so, but most definitely abnormal. And from the fact that these threats are evidently designed to make you resign your position, Mr. Langer, I deduce that the author of them must be connected in some way with the affairs of the tower. Have you any suspicions?
This I do not like to say, Mr. Holmes. But there is a young man, my assistant, Heinrich Schiller, who but waits to step into my shoes. He even presumes to pay court to my daughter Elsa.
Oh, well, we're only young once, Mr. Langer.
Oh, my daughter, I have better things in mind than this insolent young man.
Oh, well?
So, you too, Mr. Holmes, think Heinrich wrote these letters? You think I should have him arrested or dismissed?
I think you'll require more evidence than a mere guess, Dr. Langer.
But how shall I get it?
Well, perhaps we might combine business with pleasure. What do you say, Watson? Suppose we have Mr. Langer show us through Nuremberg's most famous site, the Five-Cornered Tower.
Here we are, gentlemen. If you will just follow me through this gate here. This way, gentlemen.
Just a moment, my man. Are you in charge here?
Yes, madam.
Then why are these people being admitted to the tower, while my friend Miss Simpson and I are kept standing about and debarred from entrance?
Oh, do please be careful, Amelia. It isn't as though we were home.
Nonsense. I insist upon knowing.
I am sorry, madam, but the tower is not open for visitors until 11 each morning, as you will find if your Baedeker you will consult. And it is now but 10 o'clock.
Then why are these two men being admitted?
Because...
No excuses. I'm English, my man. And in England, we believe in fair play. No favoritism.
I'm sure, Mr. Langer, that you have no objections to showing these two charming ladies through the tower with us.
Oh, of course, Mr. Holmes, if you say so.
I do indeed.
Thank you very much, sir. Just what I should expect from a fellow Britisher.
A pleasure. After you, ladies. Lead the way, Mr. Langer.
At this point, in the very center of the castle we are. Cut from out of the solid rock, built by the prisoners from 1253 till 60 years later.
1253? Victoria, make a note of that.
What in heaven's name is that black pit yawning in the center over there?
The Tiefer Brunnen, the deep well. Lean over and listen while I drop a stone.
Oh, it must be almost bottomless.
About 340 feet, I'd say.
You have been here before, Mr. Holmes?
No, I merely counted the interval from the time you dropped the stone until the splash.
Oh, Amelia, down that corridor, look. That gigantic shadow. It's getting nearer.
Oh, no. Control yourself, madam. It's merely somebody approaching with a torch.
Good morning, Herr Langer. I did not know you were showing a party so early.
That is Heinrich, Mr. Holmes. Follow with us, Heinrich.
Yes, sir.
Here are the dungeon cells, where were kept the prisoners.
Yes, most insanitary, I call it. Nothing but damp stone.
Barbaric. Just what I should expect of foreigners.
And here chamber.
What are all those strange objects? Oh, at least there's a couch for the poor prisoners.
Hardly that, I fear. That wheel-like object at the head of it proclaims its true purpose.
Yeah, Mr. Holmes. This was the rack. On it they would tie the victim, and with the wheel they would stretch and stretch and stretch his limbs until his bones cracked.
Oh, how awful. Come, Victoria. No weakness.
Pleasant idea, I must say. What's that iron collar thing up there?
That, Doctor, fits into that larger iron frame which over there you may see. Around the neck of a prisoner, it was snapped and locked, so that the unfortunate man neither sit nor lie down nor sleep could.
Regular chamber of horrors.
And there is the boot, the iron frame in which a prisoner's leg was slowly crushed, and the braziers for melting lead, and heating tongs and pincers. They are all here.
And that large iron affair beneath the embrasure, that, Mr. Langer, I assume to be the famous Iron Maiden.
The Iron Maiden? It looks just like a statue.
Yes, I can't say that I consider it a very beautiful one.
It is a statue, madam, but a hollow one. And for good reason.
I think I'd rather not hear about it.
Victoria, keep a stiff upper lip.
The two halves of the statue swing open, and within are many iron spikes, as in a moment you will see. Into it was placed the victim, and slowly the door upon him was closed. The maiden's kiss, the executioners called it.
Imaginative bunch of fellows they must have been.
A most graphic description, Mr. Langer.
Thank you. Perhaps one of the ladies would like to open the statue and see within?
Oh, no, not I. Nonsense, Victoria. The ghosts of prisoners who've been dead for 500 years can't hurt you. Here, Mr. Guide. I'll open it.
Good. You lift this bar here, so, and then pull open with this handle.
It works rather stiffly. There, now it's opening.
Good heavens!
Oh, there's something inside.
The body of a woman. No, don't touch her.
Mr. Holmes, the letters. Something horrible they spoke of. Now it has happened.
Yes, unbelievable.
Control yourself, Victoria.
Schiller, take these two ladies out into the air.
Yes, sir.
Now,
yes.
chin up, my dear. Chin up. Lean on me if you like, but chin up.
Oh, I must say, Holmes, that's about as nasty a sight as I've ever seen.
Quite so, Watson. Mr. Langer, do you recognize this woman?
Never saw her before.
What time yesterday did the last visitors go through?
The museum is closed from 6 o'clock on, Mr. Holmes.
Then the body of this unfortunate young woman must have been placed here between that time last night and the present moment.
Yeah, but how I cannot understand. Now, at last, to me, the police will have to listen.
Undoubtedly. And you'd best send for them at once. Dr. Watson and I will be leaving Nuremberg tomorrow morning, and the authorities will no doubt wish to take our statements.
Immediately, I shall send for them.
We shall wait here for their arrival.
Oh, this scandal. It will wreck the museum. Mr. Holmes, you have seen Heinrich. Tell me, could he so terrible a thing have done?
That, Mr. Langer, is a question we'd best leave to the police.
I fetch them at once.
A curious problem, Watson. The solution is, of course, obvious to you.
Solution? This murder, you mean?
Murder? There's been no murder, Watson.
What the devil do you mean, Holmes? With the corpse literally staring us in the face from inside that revolting iron statue.
If you will examine the corpse for a moment, my dear Watson, you'll notice that it exhibits no signs whatsoever of rigor.
By Jove, you're right. But what on earth does it mean?
Simply that this poor woman was dead long before her body was put into the Iron Maiden. I've no doubt that the police will quickly be able to establish that a corpse is missing from the morgue or one of the local hospitals.
But, Holmes, what can be the purpose of so fiendish and so horrible a plot? I hardly expect you to tell me it's merely a practical joke.
Far from it. Madness lay at the bottom of those letters that Langer showed us. And madness placed this body within the statue. But the difficulty, Watson, will be to reveal the madman behind these acts.
In just a moment, we'll rejoin Sherlock Holmes as he endeavors to solve the mystery of the Iron Maiden. Men, on hot, sticky summer days, your hair needs extra special care. And when you buy a hair tonic, why not buy one that does lots more than just keep hair looking handsome? Why not get your money's worth and buy Kreml hair tonic? No other hair tonic keeps the hair more neatly groomed and attractive looking. Kreml gives hair such a handsome, clean-cut appearance. It keeps the hair perfectly groomed throughout the hottest, stickiest day. It never looks or feels greasy or sticky. In addition, Kreml is simply great to lubricate a dry scalp. At the same time, it removes itchy, loose dandruff and leaves the scalp feeling so clean, refreshed, and alive. No wonder Kreml is preferred among America's most prosperous men. Buy a bottle of Kreml at any drug counter. Ask for an application at your barber shop. Use this highly specialized hair tonic daily for better groomed hair and more hygienic scalp. Kreml, Kreml hair tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, what did Sherlock Holmes do to uncover the madman behind the strange deed in the five-cornered Tower of Nuremberg?
Well, by the time that the police had finished with us, it was late in the afternoon. Considerably shaken by the events of the day, we returned to our hotel, where the two ladies who had spent so grim a morning with us were also stopping. After a tub and a whiskey and soda, I don't know which was more welcome, I came back into our room to find Holmes in conversation with young Heinrich Schiller.
Anything I can do, Mr. Holmes, I will. I know that the police suspect me of these letters, and how can I prove that I did not write them? Elsa's father shows clearly that he thinks it is I behind all this horror.
If you will carry out my instructions, Mr. Schiller, I think we may succeed in clearing up this matter this evening.
Heaven bless you, Mr. Holmes. If only you can remove the shadow that hangs over Elsa and myself.
Yes. Now, goodbye. Until later.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye. That young fellow looks as though he was at his wits' end.
If the police, the father of the girl you loved, and even the girl herself suspected you of being an anonymous letter writer with a latent streak of insanity, I'd greatly doubt that even you could maintain your usual poise.
Possibly. But I wouldn't write anonymous letters or put corpses in iron maidens.
I trust not.
Well, I'm ready to do good justice to a great dinner, and then a good night's sleep before we start our trip down the Rhine tomorrow.
I hope that the dinner will be good. But I'm sorry to tell you that your chances of a good night's sleep look extremely poor.
Oh? Why?
Because by 10 o'clock this evening, you and I must be securely hidden in the torture room of the castle.
Oh, really?
Quite. And before we dine, I'd be obliged if you would unpack your service revolver and make certain that it's loaded. We may well be depending upon you before the night is out.
Well, just a moment. Where are you off to?
I'm going downstairs to see Miss Atterbury. I'll meet you in the dining room.
That grim-faced old trout? Well, don't tell me you're going to ask her and that mousy little companion of hers to dine with us.
Not at all, my dear fellow. I want Miss Atterbury's assistance in baiting a trap. So there, Miss Atterbury, you have a frank statement of my problem.
I understand, Mr. Holmes.
The difficulty, you see, is that although the man in question is undoubtedly as mad as a hatter, there's no way in the world by which I can prove it. And what I fear is that, having begun with threatening letters and graduated to stolen bodies, his mania may at any time break out in an even more violent form.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, you don't mean murder?
Don't be idiotic, Victoria. Of course, Mr. Holmes means murder.
Oh.
If you are willing to take the risk, Miss Atterbury, it is my belief that a sudden and violent shock may serve to bring his madness into the open. But I'll not disguise from you the fact that, although Dr. Watson and I will take every precaution, you may still be running a considerable personal risk.
Don't do it, Amelia. This is no concern of yours. Think what the dear vicar would say.
The vicar would probably faint. I, however, am made of sterner stuff. Mr. Holmes, I shall be glad to assist you to the best of my ability.
Capital. Then I shall see you at about 11 o'clock tonight, Miss Atterbury. Although you will not see us.
It's only 11 o'clock, Holmes. I feel as though we'd been here most of the night. The cold dampness of this infernal torture chamber is like a breath from a tomb.
I only hope, Watson, that my estimate of our man's psychology has been accurate. I'd hate to think that I'd put Miss Atterbury into jeopardy unnecessarily.
She looked to me the sort of female who could take care of herself if she were charged by a mad elephant.
Nothing wrong with her courage, though. There are not many women who would... Listen. You hear that, Watson?
Yes. I hear them.
Now you understand why I point the hour of 11. The moon has risen, and enough of her light comes through that narrow embrasure so that you can shoot straight if the need arises.
I have my revolver ready, Holmes.
Be in readiness for anything, Watson. Once they're in this room, we shan't be able to make the slightest sound.
Right you are.
You are sure, Miss Atterbury, that no one knows about this visit?
No. I made a point of telling nobody.
Good. Only because you have shown such great interest and been so understanding would I, through the tower, show you at night when the museum is closed.
It's too good of you, my dear Mr. Langner. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. But I did so want to see it by moonlight. When I get back to England, I know I shall be the envy of all my friends.
It is because the proper spirit you show to the memories of the old days that I bring you here now. It is best at night. Those who once screamed aloud in this room, almost you imagine that in the moonlight you can see them. And hear them.
Oh, really, Mr. Langer, you have the most remarkable ability for summoning up the ghosts of the past. When I think of what this room must have known, it makes the cold shivers run down my spine.
It is because you have the imagination that you so feel. That is but right and proper.
I was so disappointed today when you were unable to complete your description of all these fascinating devices.
There is no reason why now you should not them all be seen.
That pair of objects hanging on the wall, there, they look almost like gloves hanging at the end of those iron chains.
They are gloves, but of a variety most strange. Come to the wall here. To you I show them once. See, it is most ingenious. So, the iron gloves open, and into them were the hands of the prisoner put.
May I try them? It would all make it seem so real.
But why not? Here, your hands you place inside.
Like this?
Yeah. And then.
Oh, you've closed them?
Yeah.
Most interesting, but it's rather uncomfortable standing here against the wall with my hands chained over my head. So, if you don't mind...
But that is only half of it. All you have not yet seen. I pull back this lever so, and slowly the stones of the floor under your feet move away.
Oh, dear.
Until you are hanging above a pit that goes down into the deepest depths of the castle. And there you shall hang. Or shall hear you until ready I am to pull the lever that the chains will release, and down you will go.
Don't touch that lever.
He's reaching for it.
Quick, Watson.
Good work, Watson. And just in time.
Is everything all right, Mr. Holmes? I watched the corridor as you told me.
Quite all right, Schiller. Just reverse that infernal device and let's release Miss Atterbury.
Oh, thank you so much.
Are you all right, Miss Atterbury?
Quite. Although it was not an experience I should care to repeat.
I can well believe that. But there's nothing wrong with your courage, madam.
I believe I'd like a cup of tea.
Well, we'd better get this fellow to the hospital, Holmes. I got him through the shoulder. Nothing fatal, but he's losing a lot of blood.
Well, I will carry him, Mr. Holmes. I will take him to the hospital.
Go ahead, Miss Atterbury.
Oh, thank
I'll
you.
hold the torch.
I realize, Holmes, that the man was mad. That a trap you set finally brought his madness out into the open, but...
It was the only way, Watson. A long shot, but a successful one.
I can't understand what Langer was attempting to gain.
I imagine, Watson, that his mind had become twisted by his many years among his gruesome exhibits of the past. And his hatred of young Schiller, both as a prospective son-in-law and as a successor to his own position, must have hatched this mad plot.
Well, it all ended well due to your foresight, Holmes, and to your pluck, Miss Atterbury. Very good show, I must say.
It was a pleasure. Tell me, Dr. Watson, I believe that Mr. Holmes said that you and he are leaving tomorrow morning for a trip down the Rhine before your return to England. You're not by any chance going aboard the steamer Earl Kearney, are you?
Yes, we are.
Oh, how very fortunate. Miss Simpson and I are going on the same boat. So we shall all be shipmates for a delightful week.
Oh, yes. Delightful.
Are you a bachelor, Dr. Watson?
A bachelor? Yes, I am.
The Rhine scenery, they say, is most romantic.
Yes, so I've heard. Just a moment, Holmes.
Yes, Watson?
My shoelace has come undone. You go on ahead, Miss Atterbury. We'll catch up with you in a minute.
All right. Don't be long.
I say, Holmes, you take her back to the hotel. I got something else to do.
Going to change our tickets, Watson?
Huh? How'd you know?
I thought you might be thinking of giving up the Rhine trip and getting out of Germany by the fastest train.
A brilliant deduction, Holmes.
Elementary, my dear Watson. Elementary.
Ladies, when you want your hair to look its radiant best for an important date, just do this the night before. Give your hair a 10-minute glamour bath with Kreml shampoo.
I certainly agree with that, Mr. Bell. And you know, Kreml shampoo is the same shampoo used by those famous beauties, the Powers models.
Kreml shampoo has been especially developed to glamour bathe each tiny strand of hair so that it fairly radiates natural, dazzling highlights. It leaves the hair simply gleaming with natural, glossy luster. And what's more, your hair stays that way for days.
And please bear in mind that Kreml shampoo is not a soapless shampoo. It's not a cream shampoo. It's not a drying detergent. Not a harsh soap. It's entirely different.
Yes, Kreml shampoo uncovers all the natural highlights that lie concealed in every woman's hair. Yet it never dries the hair. In fact, Kreml shampoo has a built-in oil base which helps keep the hair from becoming dry or brittle. It removes dandruff flakes the first time you use it.
Kreml shampoo whips up a luxuriant, active foam, even in the hardest water. It rinses out so easily and never leaves any dull, soapy film.
So, ladies, why not buy a bottle of Kreml shampoo at any drug counter and glamour bathe your hair to a vision of shining beauty, like the lovely $1 Million Powers models. Kreml, Kreml shampoo. Well, Dr. Watson, I'm afraid that this will be our last visit for a while.
Yes, I'm afraid so, Mr. Bell, but it's been a pleasure to be with you and our listeners for so many weeks. And I hope you've enjoyed hearing my stories of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes as much as I have telling them.
I think I speak for all of us when I say that we certainly have.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Bell.
You know, Dr. Watson, beginning 1 week from today, Kreml will present a new series of programs featuring Eddie Duchin, to be heard Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoons over most of these ABC stations. Consult your local newspaper for the time.
I'm sure that they'll be very fine programs. And before saying goodbye for the summer on behalf of Tom Conway and myself, I'd like to thank all of those whose assistance has made our weekly visits possible. Claire Wiedener of the American Broadcasting Company, Carl Hefferman, our engineer, Bill Verdier and Vic Levoti, who so capably furnished our sound effects, Shirley Wilson, our charming script girl, Alex Steinert, who composed and conducted the music, Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher, Edith Miser, and Leonard Lee, who wrote the dramatizations, and last but not least, our producer and our director, Tom McKnight.
Tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Final Problem. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of Universal International Pictures. Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo and wishing you a happy and prosperous summer. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
For you and yours, this is Common Sense representing with WBGU 88.1 FM, where beats go underground with the rawness. Peace, y'all.
Hey, it's Marv Olis from the Blues Breakfast, and I'd like to introduce you to the newest member of the Blues Breakfast family, DJ Automation.
Thank you, Marv Olis. If it's not live, it will be me, DJ Otto, playing blues on 88.1 FM or on our website on Saturday starting at 7 a.m.
Who do I play high school softball for? I play for my mom and dad who've never missed a game.
Whether they're playing for their teammates, their classmates, or their community, high school student athletes in Ohio learn important lessons they'll use for the rest of their lives, like respect for the rules and the value of hard work and sacrifice. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
That was the last full-length Sherlock Holmes adventure of the evening, The Iron Maiden. That's another one that I've listened to quite a lot. I like that one a lot. Very spooky and scary. All right, so I'll do the weather, even though it's, not the bottom of the hour. Just real quick, there's going to be a low of 72 degrees tonight, and then tomorrow, which is Monday the 16th, scattered thunderstorms, high of 88, low of 67, and Tuesday the 17th, sunny, high of 83, low of 61. All right, now we're going to do 2 word detectives first, and then we'll go into 2 Beyond the Green Doors. So here is the first one.
Could be you've never once been in the gleeful position of totaling up your winnings after betting a 30-to-1 long shot at the racetrack. Even so, the world of parimutuel machines and daily doubles has made you richer in one respect, your vocabulary. We'll be presenting a few examples on this edition of Word Detective, prepared as an educational service on this station in cooperation with the Underwood Corporation, for more than 60 years a leader in the field of typewriters and business machines. Aqueduct, Hialeah, Pimlico, Santa Anita, and Belmont Park may be as remote from your world as the craters of the moon. But it would be quite unusual if you've never used such expressions as neck-and-neck photo finish on the nose or dark horse, all of which had their origins in the environments of the racetrack. Each of these terms shows its racetrack background very clearly. But there's one very popular American expression which most people don't suspect came out of the straw-covered horse stalls behind the racetrack grandstands. We inherit this particular phrase from old-time American horse trainers who discovered that their high-strung thoroughbred charges grew considerably calmer if some other animal moved in with them as a regular stall mate. These emotionally stabilizing stable companions stayed with the thoroughbreds all through their training period and went along on track-to-track travels too, for it was particularly important for a horse to maintain a calm equilibrium on the day of a big race. And now, enter the villain. On more than one occasion, so racetrack legends say, unscrupulous gamblers sneaked into the stalls a few days before a race and made off with the animal which was the steady companion of a horse ranked as a favorite. Without his long-time stall buddy as a calming influence, the horse would go to the post in a nervous twit and finish far out of the running, and the gamblers, with gloating smiles, would tote up their winnings. If I tell you now that one animal very often used to fill this role of calming companion was a goat, perhaps you can guess what expression it was that this old-time horse trainer's custom brought into our language. I'll type it out for you right now on my Underwood typewriter, the only typewriter with the golden touch. The expression was to get one's goat, which, according to one school of entomological thought, had its origin in the old-time horse trainer's habit of calming down a high-strung thoroughbred by giving him a goat as a roommate. To get a horse's goat was to make him nervous and unable to function at his best. And in our time, the expression has this same meaning: to bewilder, confuse, or baffle, to irritate, annoy, or vex. The only difference is that nowadays, when we use the expression getting his goat, we are talking not about a horse, but a human being. Don't go away now. I'll be back in a moment. A place to fish, a place to hunt, a place where a city man could rough it a bit. That's what tobacco merchant Pierre Lorillard was looking for in 1802 when he traveled 40 miles north of New York City and bought himself a tract of 7,000 or so acres of wild New York State forest land. On this edition of Word Detective, prepared for you as an educational service of the station in cooperation with the makers of Underwood typewriters, we'll be telling you the story of the way those wild and woody acres affect our vocabulary today. When Pierre Lorillard first took to the woods in 1802, he took to it from a city with a population of only 79,000 people. In 1880, New York City was home for 1.5 million residents. But just 40 miles away, the woods stayed wild. Old Pierre had wanted this land to be a place in which a city man could rough it, and his descendants kept it that way. Then came Pierre Lorillard IV, grandson of the original purchaser of the Orange County wilds. This new generation Lorillard loved hunting as much as his grandfather, but on a more elegant scale. His idea of a bracing outdoor day involved well-bred horses, pink-jacketed riders, and highly polished hunting horns. A good many of New York's wealthy young men shared his point of view. So, along about 1886, young Pierre fenced off 5,000 of the old family acres and turned them into an exclusive private hunt club. Then houses were built, elegant country estates mostly, where a tired huntsman could drop in after a hard day with the hounds and sip imported champagne. The only roughing it aspect of this life was the rather rough competition between club members for the title of Best Dressed Rider or Best Dressed After the Ride Party Guest. Pierre IV did rather well in these competitions, and on one occasion set a style that spread all over the world. And thus it is that old Pierre Lorillard's favorite spot for roughing it has become identified with a rather elegant item of male attire. I suspect you know by this time the item of attire I'm speaking of. I'll type the word for you now on my Underwood typewriter. It was tuxedo. Using the short pink jackets of hare and hound hunters as a model, Pierre Lorillard IV designed for himself a special short dinner jacket for wear at after-the-hunt parties in the country. Since this short dinner jacket, black with silk lapels, was a revolutionary change from the swallowtail coats formerly worn on party occasions, he felt it deserved a special name. What better choice than the Indian name of the family's old hunting preserve, Tuxedo Park? When the fad in short dinner jackets spread to the city and all over the world, Mr. Lorillard's name spread with it. And that's why a 7,000-acre tract of woody land where a city chap wanted to rough it has become the name for a very fashionable item of male apparel. Now, here are the ingredients for tomorrow's edition of Word Detective. A package of chalk, a bet, a word. Don't go away now, I'll be back in a moment.
So there we have the Word Detectives, and you can see, if you listened to the show before, then you know what they are. You know what they're about. And then if you haven't, that's all that it is. He types his little, types the word, gives hints, types the word on his little Underwood typewriter because of the, promotion and whatever. And so now we're going to listen to another thing that Basil Rathbone did. Little short radio things called Beyond the Green Door is the name of the series, I guess. And so we're going to hear number 6, which is Buried Alive, and then number 7, which is called Drunkard. And that'll finish out our show, but I'll say bye after these.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Basil Rathbone inviting you to join me beyond the Green Door. Today's story concerns Mr. Theodore Kane, one of the most odious of men, in an adventure which introduces Mr. Kane to the land beyond the Green Door. Power-mad, corrupt, wholly without conscience, Kane had risen from petty racketeering to become overlord of the crime syndicate controlling the entire state. Through his evil genius, politicians were made and broken. Graft and corruption ran wild, and millions of dollars poured into his own pockets. But time was running out for Kane. A bridge constructed of faulty materials, provided by one of his companies, had collapsed, killing nearly 100 people. The grand jury had amassed enough evidence from this and other crimes to put Kane behind bars for life. Sending his ill-gotten fortune on ahead to South America, Kane devised a plan to get himself out of the country. His idea was to stage a mock funeral. His grave to be was situated 100 yards from an abandoned tool shed adjacent to the cemetery. From the tool shed to the grave, a tunnel was to be dug. The end of Kane's coffin was to be hinged, so that once underground, he would be able to swing it open, break through the thin layer of earth left to conceal the tunnel, and crawl down it to the shed. Once safely there, he planned to hide until darkness, when he could board his private plane and escape. The day of the funeral was overcast with sullen gray clouds. Despite the threatening weather, however, hundreds of Kane's enemies had gathered to see him laid to rest. When his coffin was placed over the grave, a number of people pressed forward demanding to see his body. His one trusted friend, Ed MICK'S, was finally persuaded to throw open the lid, revealing Kane, his eyes sealed in death. "Satisfied?" snarled MICK'S, slamming the lid. "All right, let's get on with it." Inside the coffin, Kane had ample breathing space, a number of air holes having been drilled in the bottom. Inches from his eyes, he could see the hinges of the trap door through which he was to make his escape. The last words were said over him, and presently the coffin was lowered, and spadefuls of dirt began raining down on it. Kane lifted his arms, and placing his hands against the hinged end, began to push. It failed to move. Again he pushed harder, but it resisted. It was as if it had been placed against a stone wall. Instantly he realized that through someone's stupidity, or an enemy's connivance perhaps, the coffin had been reversed, and the hinged end placed against solid earth, the other end against the open tunnel. He drove his feet against the solid end with every ounce of strength, but it refused to budge. And in the darkness of his grave, the last traces of oxygen entered his lungs, were consumed, and Theodore Kane could not even cry out for help. Gentlemen, this is Basil Rathbone inviting you to join me beyond the green door. Today we shall follow Henry Dill on the road to adventure, a road which sometimes leads beyond the green door. In August of 1927, Henry Dill set out on a world cruise. He was a romantic young man, and he hoped to find adventure in the mysterious ports of the world. But the adventures never came. Tangier was dull, Algiers was stuffy, and Malaga was a fraud. Dill found this very disappointing, and when his ship docked in Oran, he went ashore and got thoroughly drunk. He awoke in a strange hotel room with a monumental hangover. When he lifted his head, he saw a French officer sitting beside him. What's the matter? Dill asked. Did I do something wrong? Wrong, the officer said. No, you did nothing wrong, my friend. Don't you remember me? We drank together last night. Oh, yeah, of course, Dill said, though he could remember hardly anything. Ah, what a night that was, the French officer said. We sang many songs, and we pledged our friendship in a dozen bottles of wine, huh? We talked, and you told me of your great longing for adventure. You must have sounded very silly, Dill said. Not at all, my friend, the officer assured him. A man needs danger and risk. In the past, you have only seen the dull, civilized places.
But all that is changed now, for now, my friend, I personally will send you to adventure.
Oh, that's great, Dill said cautiously. Huh? Well, what sort of adventure?
You will leave Oran, the officer said, and go to Sidi Bel Abbes, where the true Sahara begins. Then you will proceed southward into the desert. Your way leads across mountains of black rock, razor-edged and hot as lava. One of 1,000 Tuareg warriors may lie in ambush as you descend once more to the waterless desert. Finally, with luck, you will reach your destination at Fort Charlet.
Oh, sounds dangerous, Dill said, trying to make it seem a joke.
Dangerous, but of course, the officer replied. Not 1 man in 10 survives the trip to Fort Charlet. But that is what makes it so glorious. That is adventure, the real thing, and not the fraudulent wonders you were promised on your cruise. Even though the officer's speech was rather melodramatic, Henry Dill was impressed. For a moment, he seriously considered going on the perilous journey. But then his common sense prevailed. It was one thing to dream of adventure, but it was something else entirely to let a madman send him off on a suicidal trip. I'm sorry, Dill said. I have to rejoin my ship. You see, Dill stopped. For his door had opened, and 2 armed soldiers had entered. The officer said sadly, I had hoped to spare you this unpleasantness, but I regret to say that you must go. There is no way out. I told you that last night, when I spoke of the hardships and the dangers. I even begged you to think it over for a few days. But you insisted.
What are you talking about, Dill asked? What did I insist on?
My poor friend, the officer said, you insisted right there and then on joining the French Foreign Legion. And now there is no way out. These men are your escort. They will accompany you on the journey to Fort Charlet.
All right, so we had kind of a grisly one for the first one, Buried Alive. And then that one was just more of like a trick ending. Like, oh, haha, wait, oh boy, the Legion, the French Legion. Golly gee. All right, so I think we're done for tonight. And for next Sunday evening, actually, I might do it on a different day instead of next Sunday, because I think next Sunday I'm doing some other things that might take up the whole day. So maybe on another day. But tomorrow, I'll be doing my music show, MICK'S, 8 to 10 on Monday, which is tomorrow. And thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Sherlock Summer. And I'll leave you with some more cool world music on the automation system. So have a great night.